All right, so in video 3, we're going to talk about how do we represent data. So there's 3 different ways in this video that we're going to look at representing data. First being dot plots, then we'll look at bar graphs and histograms. So first, a dot plot is really great for frequency, like how often is something happening. So looking at our first example, I can immediately tell, okay, we are measuring how long it's taking someone to eat breakfast, maybe, right? And they recorded it. And so if I were just to start rambling off some information from this table, I could tell right away that, let's see, at 0, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times maybe that this person never ate breakfast, therefore spent no time eating it, right? Or it took a minute, 2 days to eat breakfast. They had a granola bar and they just ate it real quick. But every dot here is a data point, meaning that's how many times they recorded them eating breakfast. So looking at number 1, the question says, well, how many people spent 4 minutes eating breakfast? So I would go up to 4. I see that there's two points, and so I'd just say, well, 2. How many people spent at least 9 minutes eating breakfast? So a minimum of 9. And so to me, I would interpret that as, a minimum or more than that. So I see that 3 people spent eating breakfast for 9 minutes. But then at 10, let's count those points. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for 10 minutes. And then for 11, I've got 4. And then 1 for 12. And so that's going to put me at 15 people because I'm reading that at least 9 minutes. And then what was the most time spent eating breakfast? Well, that's pretty straightforward. That would be 12 minutes. So why don't you guys try creating a dot plot from the table to the right. So it says at a recent walkathon, a team recorded how far they walked, and the results are in the following table. So if it were me, just try creating the dot plot first, and then check back with the video to see if you did it correctly. So according to my table, the frequency of someone walking a mile was 4. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 points there. Then the frequency of 2 was 7. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. And then the miles for 3 were 6 people. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 miles is 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. 5 is 1. And 6 is 1, 2, 3. So I can go ahead and answer those questions below. And number 2 says, well, how many people participated in the walkathon? You could do one of 2 things. You could count all your dots, so you can add up all the frequency, and that would be 24. Now here's an interesting question. Okay, so what is the median time? So you know that 24 people participated, so half of that is 12. So you can kind of count the points up until you reach, 12. So for instance, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 at a mile 1. So I'm going to keep going until I hit 12. At 2 miles, there were 7 people. Okay, so that puts me at 11. So the 12 is going to happen at 3. So 3 is your median time. For question 4, did more people run fewer than 3 miles, or did more people run more than 3 miles? It's kind of an interesting question. So let's kind of break that down. So how many people ran less than 3 miles? Well, that would be 11, right? Because there was 4 people that ran a mile and 7 that did 2 miles. So then let's calculate, well, who walked or ran more than 3 miles? So that would be, let's see, that would be 7, right? Because 3 people ran or walked 4, 1 person did 5, and 3 people did 6. So there are more people that walked fewer than 3 miles. Then question number 5 says, what was the most common number of miles walked? That would be 2. Because there were 7 people that walked 2 miles. And then finally, number 6, it says, round to the nearest hundredth, what is the mean number of miles ran? So what you'd want to do is you're going to, in your calculator, add, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, because 4 people walked a mile. 7 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people walked 2 miles. Then 6 walked 3. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, run out of room. 6. Now you don't have to write all this down. This is just what you should put in your calculator, or you could do multiply it, make your life easier. And then 3 people did 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 person did 5 miles, and then there was 3 6-milers. And I would divide that all by 24, and you get approximately 2.96. I don't want to just tell you the answer, not show you how I got that. So like I said, the other 2 ways of displaying data that we're going to look at in this video are, first, a bar graph. So you're probably familiar with a bar graph. We use this when there is more of a categorical data, like there's no in between. So we call this discrete data. So looking at it and just kind of analyzing the graph and not necessarily answering any of the questions right away, I can tell, okay, so 3 people have a birthday in January, 4 in February, 2 in March, 3 in April, 8 in May, 10 in June, 6 in July, 1 lonely person in August, 7 in September, 8 in October, 4 in November, and let's see if my eyes are failing. Okay, so 7 in December. So now that I have an understanding of what this graph is telling me, I can go ahead and answer the questions. So it says in number 1, how many students were surveyed? Well, I'd add up all those numbers. I'm going to get 63. And question number 2 says, well, which month has the most? June. No surprise, that's my favorite, and that's when I was born. Question number 3 says, how many more birthdays does October have than August? So October has 8, and August has 1 lonely one. So the difference is 7. Excuse me. And then question number 4 says, well, what months have the same number of birthdays? So let's see. Let's start with January and April. Jan and April. They have 3. Let's see, it looks like February and November have 4. And September and December both share 7. And let's see, May and October share 8. Let's see if I'm missing any of them. I think that's it. 3, 4, 7, 8. Yep, that's it. So when we have more numerical, we use what's called a histogram. So histogram, it's already filled in, is used for numerical data. And this is where data falls in what we call a bin. It's kind of like a range of numbers. So looking at my histogram below, it states that the histogram shows how much sleep a student had after 50 consecutive days. So looking between 6 and 6.5. Now really this range is between 6 and 6.4. This is going to be 6.5 and 6.9 and then so forth. And I could tell 2 days were in between the 6 and 6.4, 9 in the next category, 12 and 12, 11, 2, and 2. So when figuring out, well, how many days did he sleep for 6.5 hours? I'm going to take that, since I don't know the exact, if there was exactly 6.5 hours in this category, which I'm talking about right here, okay, I'm going to go with 9. They could have, all 9 days could have been 6.5, or maybe they were a little bit above. Question number 2 says, well, how many days did he sleep between 6 and 8? So I'm going to kind of erase what I've got here just so you can see what I'm doing. So between 6 and 8 would be 2 plus 9 plus 12 plus 12. That's going to give us 35. Question number 3, how many days did he sleep at least? So a minimum of 8.5 hours. So that would be this range right here, and that would be an answer of 4. And then I like number 4. It's an interesting question. There's multiple ways of looking at it, but it says, well, which interval contains the median sleep? Well, here's my kind of deductive reasoning here. So we know that he studied it for 50 total days. So there's 50 data points in here. If I cut that in half, that's 25. So where would 25 land me? So here is 2. Add that with 9, that gets me to 11. 11 plus 12 gives me 23. So data point number 25, meaning that middle point, lands me in between the 7.5 and 8 hour mark. That would be my median. And finally, why don't you guys try creating your own histogram? So I have a typo here. This should say grade, not age. I have no idea where age even came from. So it says the frequency table at the right shows the grades received on a bio test. Construct a histogram. So what I've already done, is I've already put out my numbers. Why don't you guys copy them down and create your own histogram? So for the first part of my histogram, looking at the range of 56 to 60, there was a frequency of 2 people. So I would put my first bar there. Then no one scored in between a 61 and 65, so I kind of skipped that section. There were 3 people in the 66 and 70, so I would put, let's see, I do the best I can here. Here would be 3. Then I've got 1 person scoring in between 71 and 76. Then 71 and 75. And then I've got 6 people in the range of 76 and 80. So let's see. That's going to bring me all the way up to here. There's 6. And then I've got 4 people in the 81 to 85. And then 86 to 90 is 3 people. And then 91 and 95 is 6 people. Woo, all the way up there. There's 6. And then 95 to 100 is 3. So now that I've created my histogram, I can go ahead and answer the following questions. How many students scored better than an 85%? So from here on out, so 3 plus 6 plus 3, that's going to give me 12. Which interval contains the median score? Okay, so I know, let's see, I'm going to count out all the students that were tallied or the frequency, I should say. So 2, the 0, I don't know how to do that, but 3, 1 plus 6 plus 4 plus 3 plus 6 plus 3. So there were 28 students. If I cut that in half, so 28 students or 28 data points, cut in half, that gives me 14. So going up to my table, so I've got 2 here, plus 3 is 5, plus 1 is 6, plus 6 again here. Oh my goodness, sorry, there's 12. So I'll get my 14 in this category between 81 and 86. So I'd say the median test score was between 81 and 86. And then how many people scored in the lowest interval? That would be 2.